This video may contain minor spoilers for Having Faith Book 1. Hi everyone! In today's video I'll be giving you a progress update for Having Faith Book 2. So as you guys know, I've been putting a lot of my attention on completing Having Faith Book 2. Having Faith Book 2 is going to be the conclusion in the Having Faith series, which is going to focus more on what happens after Faith's return in Book 1. So today I just wanted to give a little bit of a progress update about it and just talk a little bit of the behind the scenes progress of me creating this book. Book 1 took me quite a while because it was the very first time I've ever actually done that, and there were so many small factors I needed to consider. The main thing that I really struggled with Book 1 was the fact that I didn't really plan ahead enough, so I would end up getting stuck on certain parts of the story and then having to work back and then fix those plot holes or fix those elements. Basically, there was a whole lot of back and forth with me writing ahead and then drawing those scenes and then me needing to fix those scenes and then going back and making changes. Basically, because I did not storyboard correctly for the first book, there were a lot of unnecessary changes that I needed to make, which really slowed down the process. However, in me learning more about storyboarding, I feel like the process for Having Faith Book 2 is going a lot faster. As of now, it is about 70% complete. I have drawn most of the pages for it. However, I still need to go back and actually edit those pages and make sure that there is art consistency. I'm now in the final arc of the story, and in this particular part there is so many characters and details to draw. It's a really detailed scene, so there's a lot of details to focus on, but I am really enjoying this part of the scene. It's one of the most intense and interesting scenes in the book, and I hope you guys will enjoy it too. But it's also extremely detailed to draw it, so there's a lot of details in the artwork. As mentioned before, even though about 70% of the pages are complete, I still need to go back and make any dialogue edits. So these are just really minor changes, like reading through and making sure that the art is actually consistent. There's not like a character in one panel who disappears in the next panel, for example. And then I also need to make sure that I'm happy with the art in each panel. So sometimes there's little changes that I make, like the character's expression does not fully express the dialogue, things like that. And then of course I also need to go through and edit any grammar or spelling, which is what I did in Book 1. I went through and edited it line by line to make sure that all the grammar and spelling was correct. I also feel like I gained a lot of practice from the first one, so it was easier for me to express the characters better through the artwork. There were a lot of times in Book 1 where there was artwork that I had from a really long time ago and I still kept it and just made adjustments to it, but overall it felt like the artwork was not as consistent as I would like it to be. However, in Book 2 it feels like the artwork is a lot more consistent and there is a better story flow with the artwork. There were some really fun scenes to draw too, especially scenes between the main characters. I feel like in Book 1 you only really meet Michael and Tabitha at the end of Book 1, but in Book 2 you learn a lot more about all of the characters, and I feel like Michael and Tabitha are some of my favourite characters. I tried to keep the psychological focus that I started building in Book 1 and continue this focus into Book 2. However, I also really wanted to also make it about the characters, because Having Faith is not just about the story where Willow has Faith, her imaginary friend. It's also about having faith in yourself, and that is something I really wanted to focus on in the story. It's about characters going through their own struggles in their lives and finding ways to get through those struggles. So while Having Faith Book 2 focuses on a lot of psychological and thriller aspects which were included in Book 1, I also really wanted to focus on the characters and show their progression in the story, how the characters have grown from Book 1 to Book 2, how those characters develop throughout the story. The main focus on Book 2 is, of course, from Willow's perspective again. We see more about the world through Willow's eyes and how her past experiences have shaped the way that she sees the world now. And this is especially important given the fact that at the end of Book 1, Faith returns. And so now, this dynamic where she has begun moving towards making real friends and meeting new people in her life, now she's sort of put back into the position of her younger self, having to be around her old imaginary friend Faith again. So there's a dynamic of her having to interact with people in the real world while also having to talk to Faith in her imaginary world. I feel like in the first book the title Having Faith refers more to Willow having her imaginary friend Faith and growing up with her imaginary friend Faith. But book 2, I feel like we sort of go into more what it really means to have faith, whether to have faith in yourself, to have faith in your friends, or to believe that things are going to work out, even if it might not seem like they will. Overall, despite the challenges that the characters may go through, I wanted to focus on what it means to have hope in the midst of these challenging situations. I think one of my favourite parts about creating Having Faith Book 2 is showing more about the characters. As I discussed before, Michael and Tabitha were only really introduced towards the end of book 1, so I felt like I was not able to fully develop those characters, but in book 2, I feel like I was able to show more about those characters' backstories and why they are the characters they are today. So that was really exciting for me. I think one of my favourite parts about the creative process is talking more about the characters, creating really interesting characters that feel like they could actually exist in real life. They feel like they could be your friends or my friends. And that is something that I really like too. So Having Faith Book 1 focused on Faith in the cover image, but in book 2 I'm probably going to put Willow on the cover instead. And I feel like this kind of, usually on a cover you would see the main character at the front on the first book, and in this one I sort of did a reverse way, but I think it works. I think it will make sense for what is coming in book 2. So if you have not yet read Having Faith Book 1 and you want to catch up on the story, you can read it on Webtoons. Or if you want to support my channel, you can buy a physical copy. I really wanted to prioritize having a physical copy of my book because it was always a dream of mine to actually just be able to hold my book and see it in a physical form, and I feel like the experience is a lot better in a physical form rather than a digital form. But overall it just feels really rewarding to be able to actually see the book and to actually have a hard copy of my book. So that is something that is really exciting for me, and that is why overall I am prioritizing releasing it in a book form, because that is just something that is really special to me. And also, if you do want to support my book and help other people to discover it, I would really appreciate it if you could order it from your local library. One of the reasons why I self-published it through Ingram Spark was because they have a library option. And when I first started reading manga and graphic novels, I actually read it through my library. I discovered manga through the library, and it was my real first experience reading it. And if other people could see my book at a library and have that be their first experience of reading my book, that would be something truly amazing to me. And it does not cost any money to order it from your library either, but it does help the library systems to take notice of my book and to think that other people might be interested in reading it. So it would be more likely that libraries would order my book in the future. So thank you so much for listening to my progress update for Having Faith Book 2. If you'd like to hear any more about my progress for this upcoming book, please share your thoughts in the comment section down below. To be honest, I just don't really know what to really talk about, because to me it feels like the process is just pretty similar all the way through. Like you plan the storyboards, you write the scripts, and you draw the pages, and the drawing pages takes up most of the time. So for the most part, I just don't really know what to say about it. But overall, I am really excited about it, and I really love the characters, and hearing your thoughts about book 1 is something that meant so much to me. It meant so much to me that people really cared about my characters and wanted to learn more about what happens next. So I really hope you will enjoy Having Faith Book 2, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. So again, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!